Let me begin by putting up a few clips from your video which pretty much sum up your entire video.
And this is going to be a video dealing with the Masoretic text versus the King James Bible. Masoretic text is an individual known for his ancient Hebrew, and he's put up a new channel, and his view is that he can change the King James Bible. And of course, what he wants you to believe is that he's smarter than the King James translators. And so he has no fear for language. He can read the language, and he can pronounce the language, but it doesn't mean he can think in the language. And this is what the King James translators were able to do, and this individual is unable to do that in the open. So these are the individuals that they want you to believe that they're smarter than, and so don't be impressed by when they get up there with the computer programs and try to show, well, see, this is what the King James translators didn't understand, I got something wrong. They knew the Hebrew, they knew their Greek, and if they translated a word, they translated it for a reason. And they understood the context and understood the sense. So these guys will get up there and they'll seem impressive to you because they can pronounce the Hebrew, or they have the computer skills to go in there and say, wow, look at this, and so attempt to deceive you by what appears to be a knowledge. But in fact, what they're going against is the greatest translation in history and the best translators in history. And so when they get up there and say they're smarter than the King James Bible translators, remember what they're saying. They're saying that these guys, they know more than those who translate the greatest work that's ever been translated, and has stood the test of time for over 400 years.
No, I do not, nor have I ever claimed to be smarter than anyone, not even you, Edward. But I do disagree with how the King James translators translated certain words and phrases. When I compare the Masoretic Hebrew text with the King James Bible, I find that they were often interpreting the text for their readers rather than actually translating it.
I'm going to read from a book here called How Biblical Languages Work. Right here, how can a word have more than one meaning? Words normally have more than one meaning. The specific meaning of the word depends on its context. So when he says the King James Bible is incorrect, what he has to prove is the translation. The word, to prove it incorrect, it can't be translated that way. Not that they don't like the translation or they prefer another translation, but it can't be. Therefore, there are no errors in the King James Bible because every translation, every word that's in there can be translated that way and can be defended.
Okay, Edward, you've given me a challenge. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 4, we read in the King James Version, there were giants in the earth in those days. Now, the Hebrew word behind giants is the word Nephilim. The root of this word is naphal, meaning fall. A participle is created out of a verb by adding the O vowel after the first letter and the A vowel sound after the second letter. So the participle form of naphal is nopheyl and means falling or one who falls. This word is used in Numbers 24 verse 4 where the King James translated as falling, and in Judges 3:25 where the King James translators translated it as fallen. The plural form of this participle is nophlim and means ones that are falling. This word is found in 1 Samuel 31 verse 8, which reads, his 3 sons fallen. Now, when the vowels are changed and an E vowel is placed after the first letter and the I vowel is placed after the second letter, the word nephil is formed and is the causative participle form of the verb, and it means one who causes to fall. The plural causative participle form of this word would be nephilim and means ones who cause to fall. And it is this word that is found in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4. But why did the King James translators translate it as giants? Now, Edward, you are correct in your statement in your video that a Hebrew word can have multiple meanings based on context, and I agree with that. That is very true. And this word, or this verb, naphal, can have multiple meanings based on the context, and it's usually translated something like fall or fail, lay down, prostrate, cast down, and throw down. But notice that it always has something to do with going down. It can also be a name and would then be transliterated instead of translated, the Nephilim. But it cannot be translated as giants, as this Hebrew word has nothing to do with size or height. So why does the King James use giants? Simple. Here's the same verse in the Septuagint. Oi de gigantes e san epites ges. Notice the word gigantes. This is the Greek word meaning giants. The King James translators chose to follow the Septuagint in its translation for this word instead of the Hebrew. Is this a case of adding to the Word of God? As I've shown, the word Nephilim cannot and never has meant giants. In fact, the modern Hebrew word for giants is anakim, and this word is found in Deuteronomy 1 verse 28. Here in this verse, the King James translators chose to transliterate the Hebrew into anakim, which makes me wonder why they didn't transliterate Nephilim in Genesis 6:4 like all the other translations, and like they did here in Deuteronomy 1:28. Does not seem very consistent to me.